Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon to my friends across the pond. I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. I am joined by one, Frank Gregory, our man of Wall Street and K Street. He is the man that is so connected. He could be a substation. That's how connected he is.
Then I'd trade on myself.
There you go.
All right.
Oh, let's see. You got it. Who do you know? Who goes to Michigan State?
My daughter will as of Monday when I drive her out there.
Congratulations.
Yes.
She'll enjoy being a Spartan.
I got buttons. I got everything. So.
Oh yeah, no, that area is a great area. Michigan State's a fun school. She's gonna have a great time. Congratulations.
And I hope she learns stuff.
And she's gonna learn a few things. She will, absolutely. All right, everybody. So Frank's not just here to talk about his daughter's upcoming matriculation at Michigan State. He's here to talk about what's going on in the markets and this big pick we've got coming up this afternoon, along with kind of some history behind some of his other trades. So, Frank, you've been, one of the things I love about getting to work with you is you always bring ideas that are so outside the box that I don't think about, and they end up being big winners. I remember the first time you dropped a stock on me, it was you said, Mark, have you ever heard of this company SMRs? It's a new scale small nuclear reactor company. And I said, Frank, I have never heard of this company. I have no idea what they do. He goes, Mark, you should take a look at it because they're doing small nuclear reactors. And I got to tell you, Mark, I think that this is going to be a big thing in the coming few years.
That was exactly my technical analysis of it too. So
yeah, and I said, you really think so? And he said, yeah, Mark, take a look. So I went out and bought a few hundred shares for about $2 across multiple accounts. Like, I trade some money for my sister. I trade some money for some other people. And we all got in the SMR game. And my goodness, Frank, I sold the last of my shares at $45 a pop. That is a 2,000% gain, folks, off of one of Frank's ideas.
I love it. Now, and guess here's the funny part about that, Mark. Since that idea germinated, the reasons why I thought that would be a good trade, ironically, haven't changed, but they still haven't progressed.
Yeah, well, this thing is it's now back to $35 a share. I'm waiting for it to get a little cheaper before I jump back in, but my goodness, what a pick. Why don't we share my screen here?
Sure.
And everyone can kind of see what this thing has done. I want to just make sure everyone's aware. So here's where we're getting in, and here is where we were selling. I think I got $49 a share or something like that. I was with my last sale, I was pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, members of your program as well, and other products that we have, like capital gains, we did some trades all along that curve and had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Capital gains, they take Frank's idea and they put them to action. So, it's not just like me. I get Frank's ideas by listening to Capital Gains, or during our morning meeting every now and again, he'll pop a gem. And anytime Frank goes, hey, Mark, have you ever heard of XYZ stock? I'm like, okay, well, I know what I'm buying today. And Frank, if you just stopped there, that would have been phenomenal, right? But you didn't. You gave me another stock, AVAV. This is AeroVironment. Now, I know you have an expertise in drone technology.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know, Frank has a drone company that he is on the board of, that he is actively involved in. And now we've got But while he was kind of early in that process, he said to me, Mark, take a look at this AVAV. So I went in, I bought some stock. I got out too early. And you were literally like picking the bottom. You were like telling me to buy it. It was, in the 50s. And I ran that thing up to 120 before I bailed. Little did I know it would be going to 280. But this is just another one of your absolute bangers.
Actually, and I'll tell you what, I spent the day and a half over the last 2 days with the head of business development for them.
So there's a little game we like to play called the Frank game. And you bring up a company that you never heard of, and Frank goes, "Oh, I was just golfing with the CFO last week."
So here's the irony. I like making money off trading with them because I don't like them because they're my competitors.
Really?
So yeah, they're one of my number one competitors.
Oh, there you go.
But I got mad respect for their business. So.
Well, there you go. Well, you should respect your competitors.
Yes.
And we can keep going. I'm going to bring up our cat.
Yep. And
this KTOS is another one that you are heavily involved with. But our cat's fun because this is another stock that you put us into when it was less than $2. You said, Mark, take a look at our cat holdings.
Yeah.
I think that they're doing some interesting stuff. You should play around in that. So everyone went, oh, it's a Frank pick. And I bought stock. Andrew bought stock. Leisha, I think even Christian Pini bought some stock in our cat. And take a look at the chart here, guys. This thing has been, since it broke out above 3, it went from 4 to 15, pulled back to 4. Frank got us back in and has run back to almost $10.
Yeah, Mark, just so I know you keep an eye on this stuff, but they actually, they missed earnings this week as well. So they might become I'm actually looking at them again because if they get penalized for that a little bit, could be another nice entry point for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see they did drop it. It got down to 7 and they bought it right back up. So looking interesting. I'm going to be playing with this one today.
Yeah, just so you know, Mark, the reason they are kind of this new wave of government contractors where they're bringing in best of breed. So the government's really trying to shy away from these old legacy systems where it's like Raytheon, we're going to do everything in the box. And the government has learned over time, A, that takes forever, and B, you don't necessarily get the best product because while Raytheon might be really good at the guidance system for a missile, are they good at the explosive part of the missile or whatever it is, right? And so where RCAT decided to bring in pieces and try and be a best of breed supplier to the government. And that's one of the things that attracted me to them because that was really, I saw that, a couple of years ago that this is the way government contracting is going. And at the same time, they then they acquired a company called Teal Drones, and Teal became a program of record, which is a very good thing to have if you're a government contractor for the short range frontline drones for the military. So they have this massive contract, but that money just takes a long time to come in. So is it natural they're going to miss earnings as they're producing to deliver? Yeah, 100%.
There you have it. And now we're going to be talking about this more this weekend. But there was a competitor. I wouldn't say a competitor. Who's a competitor here of OptiPit? Nobody. But someone in the financial publishing space, they put three of their quote unquote legends together. And these guys said this stock could go up 3,000. And they always pick some random number, like 3,428%. Folks, if someone says that this stock is going to go up by whatever, and it's not a 100, 200, 300, 400, 1,000, if they're throwing you a stock could do this, and that number it ends in some weird percentage, it's a marketing ploy. But what was interesting was that they talked about a company called USA Rare Earth.
I hope they're right, by the way.
Are you familiar with this company by any chance?
Mark, I've never hoped a competitor was more right than these folks.
So
never
Frank,
in my life have I hoped that.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your involvement with USAR?
Yeah, the only person hoping more than me that they're right is my wife. So. Yeah, right. So going back, they were USA Rare Earth is, well, now they're trying to create the first full complete rare earth supply chain in the United States. And what does that mean for rare earth? It means that you're going from the mine to the magnet. The primary uses for rare earth are these very high density, high power magnets, and they're in everything. You can't build weapon systems without them. You can't have a cell phone without them. You can't have electric cars without them. They're in almost everything nowadays. And they are, China dominates that space, and they are trying to be the first mine to magnet strategy. So start with the mine. They have a mine in Hudspeth County, Texas, and it is a very large concentrated mine. Now, full disclosure, they haven't taken an ounce of minerals out of this mine yet, but they have created the other parts of the supply chain. So they have a refining plant in Colorado and Wheat Ridge. They've got a magnet manufacturing plant in Oklahoma, and they are bringing jobs. They become the darling of the governor of Oklahoma because he's really, this whole area is becoming a tech center for Oklahoma, and they are an anchor of it. But my involvement was going back to 2018. I met a gentleman who had the rights to purchase this mine in Texas. And actually, a friend of Mark Sebastian's, the reason I know Mark Sebastian, this friend of mine and I, we were the original investment bankers on that deal to raise the money to help this guy execute on his option for this mine. And then over the next few years, we did a couple of different rounds and helped get it off the ground. Then I backed out of it. I still have I still know the folks involved very well, but my day-to-day involvement really went by the wayside. And then in earlier this year, back in March, they went public through a SPAC. And it was nerve-wracking because they don't have, they're still, they're not taking stuff out of the ground yet, but there's only one other player in this space in the U.S., and that's Mountain Pass. Mountain Pass, for all their great marketing, has a lot of negatives and a lot of downsides. They're trying to be another mine to magnet strategy as well, but they're losing for different reasons. They've got Mountain Pass, which is taking materials out of the ground. They don't have the right metals as part of their problem in that mine, and they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole with that. And they're still building out the rest of that material supply chain. Yes, the government just gave them a huge grant and a lot of help, and we're certainly hopeful that the same thing happens to USA Rare Earth. But USA Rare Earth has done a very good job, I would say, more organically. Building up, they've gotten over a dozen offtake agreements, with different buyers for their magnets. They've got agreements with other suppliers of the rare earth, so they're bringing rare earth in from other places, making the magnets, and that's how they're fulfilling their business line so far. But look, you only got two companies right now who really have a solid shot at meeting this demand. And Mark, when you look at the news, and a lot of people see this flip-flopping back and forth on tariffs, right? We're gonna hammer China, and then wait a minute, we're backing off. Why is that in play? The reason is you've got Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 500 big ones that went to the Trump administration with a reality check and said, listen, if you completely cut off rare earth supply from China, yes, we know long term it's the right thing to do. You will literally cause dozens, not a couple, dozens and dozens of Fortune 500 companies to go out of business without that supply of rare earth materials. So that's why you see this flip-flopping back and forth with China, but it also just shows the long-term need and viability of building up domestic supply chains.
Absolutely. So folks, other people will suggest stock ideas. We have the people that take them to market. All right. That is what I think really differentiates us. And the other piece is that we actually are invested in the trades that we suggest.
And Mark, full disclosure for everybody, I've got some shares from the work I did. I can't. None of this trading will impact it because I'm all locked up. So yeah. I'm sitting in the parking lot watching the roller coaster at the moment.
Yeah, Frank is in lockup, but just full disclosure, everybody here in a lot of people working for Option Pit own USAR, but we've owned it for we owned it from kind of either pre-IPO price or when it had this dip, a bunch of us got in as well because we are very familiar with the people that brought this to market, to say the least. Now, Frank, we still like USAR. We still like RCAT. You have some new picks coming, a big new pick coming up this afternoon.
Yes.
Around lithium. Can you kind of explain to everybody why has lithium caught your attention? It was really, really hot and then has kind of gone by the wayside, right? I mean, you look at a name like Albemarle, right? It's been kind of crushed. A very rough go for the last 2 years, to say the least. But you're saying now is the time to start looking at lithium plays again. And you have one in particular that you really like. So why don't you start by telling us why now with lithium, and then we can talk about the stocks in a second.
Yeah, look, Mark, this is a bit of a long shot play in my mind. I mean, this is not, this is one of those ones that I would love to say, slam dunker. I'm not going there. This is definitely a long shot play, but lithium production, really because of electric vehicle demand, peaked in 2022, and the market really got flooded, and you saw a lot of producers, particularly out of China, ramping up production. It's China, so a lot of that production was being subsidized by the government. It really wasn't profitable. And you had, China also artificially suppressing prices on the world market for lithium to try and, capture the market like China does. Same thing they've done with rare, the same weaponization of rare earth. It's really no different. But EV demand dropped for a number of different reasons. As you know, Mark, a lot of countries cut off subsidies for EV cars. Believe it or not, that was driving demand. So, the subsidies stopped. What was it? I think, was it Sweden or Iceland saw the EV cars purchases drop by 95% after the government cut off their, cut off subsidies. So that stopped. That drove down prices. This year people were mad at Elon Musk. That, caused Tesla sales to drop a little bit. And that then had a glut of lithium on the market, caused prices to really start going down way too much. And even China said, oh my God, like we can't continue to operate like this. So they started, back, very under the radar a couple of, about a month and a half ago, the Chinese government forced a lithium mine to shut down, cease production. Might it open up again in the future? Sure. But they forced it to shut down. And then more recently, in the last week, a second mine, they didn't position this one that the Chinese government was making it happen, but come on. They shut down, and that shutdown was equivalent to between 3 and 4% of the global supply of lithium.
Oh, wow.
Helped, China was doing that to try and support prices. And so that, I think in the short term, you've got, some benefit for domestic, or I would say Western suppliers of lithium to see a nice little bump. What does that do for the long term, Mark? It's still, it's still going to be a demand driven market at that point. But I think over the next couple of months, we've got an opportunity to get some play out of some domestic lithium producers.
So near term, you like it because of kind of economic factors. Long term, it's still a demand play, and where does battery technology take us?
Yeah, and how much, at least during the Trump administration, how much does do the tariffs and other Chinese impact help domestic producers? and also then deregulation on the mining side. I don't want to, if I throw out some names, it's going to give the stock away, which I know we don't want to do.
Don't, we're not giving the stock away this morning.
But for instance, they are, they're developing, a couple of different mines that could definitely benefit from a deregulatory mining environment. And if that happens, it would be a huge boost for the stock. There's another one, Mark, went public during a SPAC. As you know, SPACs tend to go two ways, right? They tend to come out and get some support, or they tend to come out and get thrashed. This one got thrashed, when it came out. But like I said, I think there's some short-term viability, and then with the deregulatory environment, if that kicks in, you might have some long-term play as well. Long-term, I'm still on the fence a little bit about, because they even if they get the deregulation, they got to execute. And mining is not a quick, easy process. But the mining question is massive, and so it could be a really good boost for domestic production.
Frank thinks this one could go up 2,631%, folks.
32, Mark. I just read.
32%. Excuse me. No, this is one that I have. I really like. It's in my portfolio across a couple of different investment areas, and Frank's analysis is right. I think near term there's a lot of bull factors. I mean, if you look at ALB, it's not ALB, folks. If you look at ALB, it has definitely bottomed, right? I mean, I don't think it's going back to the 50s. That was your opportunity, and it's now over 80 and looks like it wants to run back to 100. And if this mining company is able to get some of that deregulation through, it will definitely get a big, and I mean a big, news bump on that news. Yeah. People will start. What you'll see is near term, obviously there's some positive factors. Then traders will start speculating, analysts start speculating, they might actually be able to do this. You'll see the stock get a little bit more of a bid. Next thing you know, you'll be up 100% on your money. And then when the news hits, that's when you get the pop, and we exit most of the position. That's the plan with this stock. Obviously, if Frank gets wind that the mining thing ain't going to happen, our outlook will change pretty quick. And that's one of the beauties of having a guy like Frank that's so connected to what's going inside of Washington. He's able to see kind of the writing on the wall when it's still written in invisible ink, if that makes sense. So, folks, what I'd like you to do is join Frank in this special situation. He's going to be revealing the stock and how he wants to invest in it today. You can click the link that my team is dropping in this chat, and you can join us. It's a really inexpensive way to join us here at Option Pit if you've never been a member. Does Frank have a trading service? Frank and Andrew run a program called Capital Gains. See, it's punny. But it's got a phenomenal track record that already has 3 USAR trades in it, 2 for triple digits, and is currently in another one. Robin says, sounds like, here, let me read. Mark, I'm giving you a free plug today. This is from Robin. Option provides much better overall advice. I've been a member of another service, a lifetime member for 20 plus years. Option Pit education is much more detailed and specific. Snapper Baker says, sounds like we have the same investing history. I agree with your assessment. OP by far has more actual data with underlying analysis than any other firm with which I am familiar. My interaction with investing advisors also goes back decades. I love it. Mark,
what I love is I can actually now make money on my ideas, because I was never a trader, and until I met you guys, I didn't understand how to actually really monetize these ideas I've got.
Yeah, and monetize them we have. Someone was asking, Mark, you dumped all of your SMR. Yes, I did. Oh, and here's actually a really good one. Frank, what are your thoughts on the Intel play about what's going on with Intel and the federal government? Do you have? Obviously, I'm just throwing this to you, and the news just kind of hit yesterday. But do you have any thoughts on a deal like that?
So, Mark, I got to be honest with you. I was completely cloistered. I was on I was on a no cell phone military base all day yesterday, and I literally I jammed out to catch a flight that was then delayed. I walked into my house at 3:30 this morning from that trip, and so I am not. I rare that I would ever admit this, but I'm not up to date on that news.
And that's okay. Sometimes I don't have a good answer, but that'll be some homework. Take a look and see whether that's actually a viable option. The U.S. government investing in Intel makes sense. We need on the foundry side. It would make a lot of sense. I mean, we've already given them so much money. I don't hate the idea of, you want these billions and billions in grants. Guess what? We want a little bit of the upside. I think I think we can all agree that that's not a terrible idea for the United States.
Well, look, I mean, the U.S. government's now the largest shareholder of Mountain Pass.
Yeah.
And why, again, I agree with you. Why not? I don't like it, as long as they stay out of the management of it.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. It starts getting a little too 1930s Germany if they start getting too involved in the management. Right. But stay out of that. And I think look with Intel, they are still, Trump is set on. He doesn't want Chinese chips coming in. They're dangerous. I mean, they just are. A lot of like on the drone side, for instance, don't even bother. All these guys were using DJI drones. Gone. Can't buy them anymore. It's just you can't have an Intel gathering service operating in your critical infrastructure areas.
There you have it. All right, well, folks, Pelosi. They want to know, who has better picks, you or Pelosi? And my answer would be Frank. I think Frank gives Pelosi the insider info.
Mark, she's never made. It's her husband who's a.
That's true. Paul. I apologize. You're right. You're right. I apologize. All right, everybody. Once again, I want to encourage you to join Frank in his special situation. You can click the link that's above us, that's in chat. This pick, I really like it. Like I said, I've already bought some stock in it, but there's plenty of opportunity for you guys to get involved at the same price that we're all playing in. So with that, Frank, I want to say I appreciate your time and giving us some insight on some stocks, USAR, RCAT, and I'm excited for everybody to get involved with your lithium idea this afternoon. Well, so, folks,
it's all I can do not to say it out loud. So I'm very excited.
I know you want to. I know you do. All right, everybody. So for Frank Gregory, our connected man on both Wall Street and K Street, I'm Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. Have a great, great morning and a great afternoon, my friends in Europe.